Hello everybody, welcome back. We had taken a 2-month break, and so everybody probably is excited to restart after 2-month break and had a good summer or ongoing summer. Before we get started with the talk, I want to talk about our sponsor for the event today. We have a company, X Matters, who is sponsoring our event today, and I would like to read a little bit about their company. X Matters, which you see over here on the slide from them, X Matters helps enterprises prevent, manage, and resolve IT incidents. And it's an industry-leading service availability platform which prevents IT issues from becoming big business problems. The large enterprises, small work groups, and innovative DevOps teams rely on its proactive issue resolution service to maintain operational visibility and control in today's highly fragmented IT environment. It provides toolchain integration to hundreds of IT management, security, and DevOps tools. And it's a primary service availability platform trusted by leading global companies, as you can see listed on this slide. The company is actually headquartered in San Ramon, pretty close to over here, and they have offices worldwide also. So I want to extend a huge thanks for them sponsoring our event today. We don't have anybody over here, but I'll be posting this on YouTube so they can see us thanking them. Thank you very much. Now with the talk for today. So our first talk is managing and securing containers with Istio, which I know it's a hot topic. And we have Marek Sadowski, who's a full stack developer advocate, and he has a robotics startup founder also. He has a lot of interest in robotics, and just while I was talking to him before earlier, half an hour earlier, he was telling me he's also going into drones. So we probably have another topic that he'll be coming here for in the future. He is also an entrepreneur, and he has 20 years of experience in consulting large companies worldwide. So please welcome Marek. Use this one or this one?
I will use
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, those leads and
All right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Marek Sadowski, as I was introduced. I'm very happy to be here. I've been, I think, to one meetup here. I live in Walnut Creek, so north of here, and I moved here, as you can guess from my San Francisco accent, 5 years ago from Poland, and I will be speaking about Istio. I would like to start first with the question: are you familiar with Docker? Everybody knows Docker, so that's good. Who is familiar with Kubernetes? Okay, everybody is familiar with Kubernetes. That's very good. So I will skip a couple slides. I have like a summary of the of these technologies just to give us a ground for Istio. So the last question: who is familiar with Istio? Okay, so I'm going to get some hard questions over there. It's supposed to be an introductory talk. I will show a couple examples, and but I think we can together have a fun night and have some discussion, so everybody will participate. A little bit about myself. I started with Java development in '96. And since then, I started all my career was with Java, and However, first time I've been to Java 1 and now Code 1, it was 3 years ago. I moved here with my startup. I expanded the company from Warsaw, and I tried to fly my startup high, but my wife said, there's no promise of success. Find yourself a proper job. So I started to look for the various jobs, and I started to work as a developer advocate. And I love the job because I can bridge my knowledge as an entrepreneur with the struggles of startups. And I also know how VCs are reacting to some of the things that they can encounter. So I also consult startups. In my free time, I'm a rescue scuba diver, and so that means I'm a diver and I can rescue you if you are having problems. I'm a snowboarder and I'm a robotist. I fall in love with robots when I had more hair. It was 99 when I was in NASA Ames, so not far from here. I was doing research on robots on Mars, virtual reality, before it was sexy and invested by Google and by Facebook. I didn't know it's going to be such a hot topic. Nonetheless, I managed to go through a lot of fun projects. I burned a lot of euros to bring various projects. I even pitched President of Poland, former one, with the swarm of robots. I tried to put the robots on the border. It was a good idea, very warmly welcomed by the former president. However, I didn't get any project out of it. So here I am. So I'm doing developer advocacy. I go across various technologies. So I pitch to students as well as so-called C-level people. So I can, these are more or less the same type of the audience. If I have to convey the message to the kids, I can also convey to the CEO. So, and I can speak about blockchain. I was speaking about various technologies. So, so about today, as I said, since you guys are knowledgeable about Docker and Kubernetes, I will flow through the slides, and I will answer some of the questions. And so it will be a quick talk in the beginning, so we will warm up. More or less, which you will get tuned to my accent, and then we will start to discuss. So why containers? Before, when I started to work in an industry, we had this idea of putting VMs. Before VMs, maybe you remember, I had to install in my laptop. I had to ghost my laptops in order to show the presentation. So. So I used various disks. I just swapped the disks inside. With the VMs, it was easier. However, sometimes I had to carry over to my customer like 70 gigs of DVDs and just install there an image, and it wasn't easy. So containers supposed to be lighter, and they might be. Because one of the things that is happening is that you are just reusing the same kernel and in the same libraries sometimes, and so you can sometimes say, okay, let's remove the things that they are not necessary, so you can load more of the applications on top of the bare metal. So in such a case, it's more efficient. So, however, some people are installing containers on top of the VM just to get additional separation layer. And there is a bridge of DevOps. So, so on one side, developers are using containers. On the other side, operations are using containers in a standard way. So, and Docker containers became such a popular thing. One of the reasons is that you had this idea of build, ship, and run anywhere. And that's just became a standard because it's such an easy way to deploy them. And probably, as you know, the Docker has couple elements. So the Docker engine runs everything. Then you have images that you download, and you have registry from which you download. And then you can run the CLI, command line interface, and you can Docker run, Docker build, and so on. And then you map various things, and you do it manually. So that's kind of the thing that makes people on the operations side worry usually. So we start with one, if you're a startup especially, and I guess, is there any startup? Okay. So if you're a startup, you start with one great container, but then you come to the level of the situation that you are in a small enterprise. And then suddenly you are in a large enterprise having like a huge amount of the containers because you are so successful. So now you have a headache of orchestration. And orchestration comes with a couple ideas. And those ideas are around scheduling and cluster management and so on. So all the things that we believe that Kubernetes was born for. So we have various levels of the various elements over there, and I'm always saying that Docker came up with Swarm, and Swarm was or is good for the small projects, and it was like a dozen of the containers. That's more or less the guts feeling I'm being told. And Kubernetes comes into the picture when you have about hundreds of the containers that you are deploying in the environment. And then you can use other systems that were there. But Kubernetes is the thing that brings container orchestration, manage applications but not hardware. So that's important. In order to manage machines, you have to use additional layer. And it's designed for extensibility, so you can add additional plugins. And it's open source project managed by the Linux Foundation. And architecture, so you have a registry from which you pull the images, you have worker nodes, and you have Kubernetes master in which you have all the things that manage entire cluster. And we have pods inside of the worker node. And pods are being surfaced to outside or inside through the services, and then you have clients that are connecting to it, and master node is taking care of everything. So just summing it up, when you have a large installation, one of the installations that I'm going to talk today is Istio, and you would like to do it kind of a fast way. You can use descriptive files, YAML files with Helm deployment, which is called a Helm chart. And that just shows you how you can lay out the Kubernetes cluster with all the application. So for example, my mentor from NASA left NASA in late 99s, just after I finished the research there. And he went to the industry, and he tried first to work with the Sony Entertainment and doing a Mars map kind of project for the best touristic places. It didn't work out, but he moved then to oil and gas, and he started to deploy applications there. So now we are talking together about creating a setup for Shell, for example, of the application that he's working on, and a visualization in virtual reality of entire system. And the projects that he's working on are $1 billion investments by Shell. So he's just bringing the software that is visualizing everything, and doing the digital twin for the investment. And what he says, now let's deploy the same installation to the other customer, let's say Exxon. And so in order to do it, you have to grab every YAML file and kind of deploy it in the new place, or you can use Helm just to do it very quickly. So just to give you an idea if you want to then go to British Petroleum or BP, you just do the same. So you just reuse the help. In my free time, I started to work with my son on the games, and I noticed that there are in-app purchases early 2008 when he was 2 or 3 years old, and he purchased a couple of the magic beans for like 20 and 40 euros. And I had to, I literally wrote to customer relations in Apple saying I didn't notice that there's a new feature, and it was still in Poland. And now, after 10 years, in order to talk to him and having the same kind of layer of understanding, I had to start playing in a Fortnite, and that's consuming time, a game that consumes a lot of time. But he's so proud when I'm offering him such funny dances and skins, and he's telling his friends, "Oh, my dad gave me this crab dance that is worth $5, and I spent like 20 hours of gaining money for it." That's really funny. But you can find me in the game as a Blue Maracas, which is my nickname on the Twitter. So sometimes he's winning, and I'm just sitting there and enjoying that we have a good time. But why we are doing this in Hawaii, for example, I don't understand. So next step in a discussion about moving from a single image or single container that you deploy and it runs your backend for your app or your service, you move into the hundreds of containers. You deploy application, CRM kind of application that has a lot of systems bound together, and then suddenly you would like to add some new things. And Istio came with the idea. Istio in Greek is sail. So when you have this guy who is turning the wheel or helm, skipper, you need to propel forward and use the sail to propel entire your system. So Istio came with the idea that it's a smart routing that is needed for the system. And there were a couple founding members. One of the members was Google. The other one was Envoy and IBM. These three guys started, and then everybody else joined because it seems that it was a good idea. So intelligent routing and load balancing, I will expand a little bit on that. Then we had resiliency, so testing of entire solution independently of the language that is being used underneath, because containers can contain anything. And you had the fleet-wide policy enforcements, and so you can set up everything is balanced to the customer, and in-depth telemetry that is out of the box. So with this idea, the founding members started to work on the moving the traffic, so intelligent routing and load balancing. So we can, I will try to show you a couple examples. There is an example on the Istio page, so istio.io. That was I showed it on the first page. So you can just go to this web page and learn a lot. So you can do the tests. You can manage your application. You can do A/B tests. So for one customer, for example, you can say you are going to get the new application, or a group of customers using, for example, iPhone or any other browser, and you can say, oh, these guys are going to get through the Canary test. We'll see how they behave, and you can upgrade versions and support rollbacks. So it's a little bit something on top of Kubernetes, because Kubernetes are having the same kind of functionality with the rollouts and rollbacks, but it helps you out with deploying applications and routing everything around. So other thing is that you have resiliency testing. So you can really introduce, for example, delays so real life examples that you have timeouts suddenly in the system, so you can see how application is working independently from the language. So that's one of the things that you can do it out of the box. So testing of the real system, entire system together. And policy enforcement, so we can add having an interaction between services inside of your system. You can enforce that resources are fairly distributed among the consumers of the APIs. And telemetry, yet another thing that that you would find over there. So telemetry is bringing all the ideas that we are getting. You can see how application is running through Grafana. You can see the tree of the application, and it's all automatic. So you can see the basic monitoring of the systems. So original concept was the application that was using a sidecar that was managing the traffic, and this sidecar was the element that was distributing the traffic through the secure channel. And application itself didn't know, or supposed not to know, that there is something like a parasite or a symbiotic entity that is helping with the traffic around. So that was the original concept, and then the sidecar was chosen as an envoy, the project of Lyft, because it was already tested on millions of containers. So they had a lot of requests that were going through it, and it was well proven with the very small footprint. So and battle tested. Oh, this picture doesn't look big. I have that's a current view of the Istio architecture. I will go into the details on the bigger one, but what we have over here, it's a more or less deployment. I will show a picture upside down, but coming from the top, we have services that are connected through the proxies. So the envoy, it's a proxy, and Mixer is setting up everything, so it gets policy checks and telemetry, and Pilot is distributing the configuration, and you have Citadel that is establishing the traffic certificates, so establishing a secure connection between pods, and Gale is responsible for deploying the entire setup for the Pilot and so on. So basic elements for the traffic, when Pilot is getting the configuration, it sends to the envoy. So proxies are being set up by Pilot, and the traffic when it comes is being directed by proxy, and Citadel is responsible, just repeating myself, is responsible for setting up the security layer. So you can kind of see how the application is distributing the entire traffic between each other. And Mixer is getting the policy checks, as I said, and telemetry. So Mixer is producing for you the input for the Grafana, for example. So one of the things that I'm going to show later on, it's going to be 50-50 split, but that's one of the basic approaches. So you can say, for example, the new application, the new version of the application is going to be used only by one browser. Let's say it's going to be iPhone, and so iOS-based browser will hit only the new version of the application, so we can kind of control the group of users that are having accessing the service. On the other hand, the rest will be set up to hit the previous version. So that's kind of the routing or routing splitting that you can use through Istio. And the other one is traffic steering. So you can kind of in this example we see exactly with what I was saying, that instead of having 1% and 99%, you can say in this case that you have iPhone, and independently of the amount of the service you would like to have on the on this application, on the new version. So resiliency, it's introduction of the timeouts. You can say how many retries you will have with, and so it's called a retry timeout budget. You can get outside of the. You can test how application, entire system behaves when there are timeouts larger than the entire response limits or circuit breakers. You can set up circuit breakers. You set up the health checks that needs to be done if to test if application needs to be restarted, and you can introduce the automatic failover and AZ kind of aware load balancing. And you can also you can test the application. So resiliency is connected with this fault injection, so you can introduce the not only timeouts but also faults. And it's all for testing the larger application, because failure will happen, and we just would like to make sure what's going to be shown to the end user. Is your application is going to be unusable, or you are like in a bookstore, you are just going to lack the number of stars, for example, the graphical interface. So maybe that's one of the things that you can see. So over here you see that timeout that was designed for, it was in an application in a service A, it was 100 milliseconds, and retries 3, and we are introducing the problem, so timeout of 300 milliseconds. So it already goes outside of the scope. The same over here, and then you provide for service B. You have a timeout designed 200 milliseconds and 2 retries, and you have 400 milliseconds injection. So delay injection is the thing that you will receive this in final application, the main page. And then you can drill down, and there are various ways to do it. You can see how application is behaving, and then when you start to drill down, you can notice that when you introduce the traffic, the timeout, you have reviews that are incorrectly start to behave, and you can see it in a monitoring, which is coming together with the Istio. So final thing about Istio is the Citadel. Citadel is in fact the certificate authority that automatically distributes the service, and the keys, the private keys and public keys, and establishes the connection between envoys, so proxies. So that's one of the things that helps us out and protects us from intrusion. So one of the things that comes with the service is the Grafana, and the other one is Zipkin, that allows you to see how the application is being, what are the responses and times of responses. So you can go and drill down. So Istio community partners, they are a growing number, but you will see Yager you will see all of those partners that are there. So so funding partners, there were Google, IBM, and Lyft. But you see Uber also came up, Microsoft. I don't know about Oracle. Maybe you are there as well. So if I omitted you, I'm sorry. So conclusion. Before I show you live demo, why containers? Because you can pack more applications on top of the bare metal, so apps can be scaled up very easily and faster. So easier and faster and more on the hardware. Docker is was accepted as the easiest and the most robust platform. Container orchestration happens when you have like a very large deployments, and because you would need so many people to manage all of those containers. So now you just use Helm chart, and Kubernetes became a standard globally. Istio, so it's something beyond smart routing and resiliency. So it replaces a little bit ingress, so you get it inside. Before the last slide with resources, let me try to get back to. Just a moment. Just to connect and deconnect. So for those who would like to have the introduction of all the aspects of the Kubernetes, there's Kubernetes for everyone, and there's a very nice article on Dev2. So I will put the link to this article. It goes through it's not about Istio, but it's about Kubernetes. Maybe I should write one about Istio. I found it just recently. So I'm using this page for Istio, and there is one of the examples is a book info application. It's a very simple application deployed on the. Let me just increase the size of it. So it's very simple application. It has a product page, so main page that looks into the reviews, and ratings are stored or produced by the node application. And you have details written in Ruby. We have 3 versions of the reviews, and we can connect them. So reviews version 1. There is no stars. Reviews number 2, version 2, has stars in black, and reviews version 3, it's after review from designers. Stars are red, and so that's a very simplistic approach. So I deployed the application, and this is, so sometimes it has a traffic 50-50. So 50% of the traffic goes to the version 1, and 50% goes to the version 3. So that's a very easy setup. Now it's going to be hard to see. But the deployment of the application requires for you to start with this entire setup. So you have to start with Kubernetes. You have a version of Kubernetes that there is supported. I'm using Kubernetes cluster 1.13 and on top of IBM Cloud, and I'm using, in this case, I started with the wrong Kubernetes client, so CLI, that was version 109, and it glitched. So I had to, it glitched. So I had to reinstall it because I was getting problems or errors. So I used Stack Overflow, and I found how I can overcome it. So very simple install if you haven't installed it before. So you just get started. So you have to get the cluster running, and then you can go with various clouds. So you have all the clouds, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. I should try it. So you can guys try it for yourself. If you have I guess most of you might have access to the cloud resources. Usually they are paid resources because clusters reside on the real servers. I'm also speaking about the serverless. In such a case, serverless is pretty awesome for trying things because you just pay for what you use, and usually as a developer or a startup you just don't use enough to go through the benchmark, but with the spinning clusters you have to pay for them, so you incur charges starting with a couple cents per hour, and it might be a huge amount of money if you deploy large installation for example for machine learning. So you just go through the installation, and then on top of that you can deploy your Istio. So I did a very simple installation with Helm. So I just ran the Helm installation. So what you have to do, you have to download the. You have to go with the. You have to go to Istio repository, and then they will say there is a repository, and I went for the latest I think version. Hope it's on the same page. So you can go to the repository, and then you just download the version that is required. I think it's here. No, it's not here. I clicked somewhere. It appeared that I can download. I think in the main page you have download 112. So you can just download it, and you will have the also in the download you will find the sample, and one of the samples is this book application. So book info application, so you can download it and test it with various commands that I'm going to show you. So they advise you to deploy the application on the bare Kubernetes cluster, and then you can start to do it with Istio. So let's check it out. So eventually you will get the services. You will see that Kubernetes product page ratings and reviews are all running. I'm just trying to see if you can see what I'm showing. Sometimes the screens are not big enough. So then you can see also pods, how many pods I'm running, and so basic elements are there. But you will see I have reviews version 1, reviews version 2, and reviews version 3 running. And I scheduled 2, and 2 of them are running. So that's a very basic installation. However, not only this is running, I also have have an entire Istio installation. I think I have found it somewhere. So getting started is also pretty easy. In fact, elements of the system. So first come Istio. That's my experience. First come Istio, and then your application, and you can test it. I think they are also saying you can deploy it on the Minikube, so you can test it on your own system if you have large machine. So you can test it and play with that a little bit. So let me go to the example now. So booking example, so this is our example. You have an installation guide, so you just install it, and then you can try to manage it with the various various commands. So let me if I don't find it. So one of the things that you need to test, you can see the application running, but they ask you to run the basic command. So that's when you start to run it. They ask you to use the C curl command, and you will get a simple bookstore app. And so that's the best, the easiest way to test it, and then you can try to you can start to get the networking running. So let me just go request routing. So that one of the things that you can test. So if you want just the version 1 to be running. So you run this command, and this is this YAML that goes for the product page version 1, reviews version 1, and so on. So detail version, that's version that's going to change. So I'm going to use it over here. So this is what happened, and you remember previously when I was running the application, it was giving me sometimes red stars. So now it's supposed to go on a version 1. So as I said, without the stars. So after some time, your designers are coming back to you and they are saying, okay, this application is working. So now we would like to get the new configuration, so you can go for the version. I had it somewhere over here. Version 3. So I think it's just. So that's version 3 and version 1. So we will test it. We'll do the splitting, and we can we'll see that now it's going to be either version 3 or version 1. So 50-50 or less. So these are the tests that you are going to run, and then. Sorry, it's clumsy, but I just want to show you how what was my thought process, so you can repeat it very easily. Just going through this Istio.io page and trying it for yourself. You have various things over here, so traffic shifting, and that's the first one. You can go through other elements. And then eventually you will go to the telemetry, and so you can visualize your mesh. That's a cool thing to do, and just metrics. And I just started to do this. So you need to see if your Prometheus is working. So I haven't showed you that all the systems are Go. these are all systems that are inside of my. I'm just trying to show you all. It's plenty of the systems here. You see entire system is ready. So we have Grafana, Prometheus over here, Zipkin as well, and you have, for example, ingress gateway. So Istio element that replaces or replaces the gateway, ingress gateway. So this is my outside port, and you can just test it over. In such a view, it doesn't look that nice, but you can just see what is written. So now let me go to the. So I have Prometheus, I have Grafana, and now if I run this command, I think I ran it before. You can open your Istio mesh dashboard, and it will allow you to see how many operations are there, what is the availability of the system, and so on. I haven't tested other metrics here. I don't have it. So I will. These are other systems that you can deploy and you can run, so you can see your mesh running. On that, I will move back to my presentation and wrap it up. The questions. So I will provide you with the resources. With this presentation, so I will pass over to organizer the presentation so you can all take care of it. Also, I will add this link to the this Dev2 blog. Are you guys using Dev2 at all, or just me? Yeah, Dev2 became a nice place to. It's a blog. Routing place for all the blogs from developers. So it's not that charming, flashy, medium-like articles, but a lot of developers are posting there. So on that, I will finish. I don't have slides of myself diving, but I dive from time to time. Last time I dove, it was in Hawaii. It was always my dream. To go to Hawaii, and my wife always said, no, let's go back to Poland. So we went, so many times. I said, no, we have to. The price of the ticket is the same, even cheaper to Hawaii. So I managed to go for 2 trips to. We went to Maui Island, and I dove by the crater. It's a very nice place. So if you're a diver, it's nice. For the people who are with space research, they can go to the old volcano, and you can see where Apollo team was testing. So maybe during our lifetime we'll see the next team going there as well. So on that I will finish, and our floor is open for questions. So yes.
I noticed in the example with the bookstore, the version 1, 2, and 3 were all pods within the same namespace. Is Istio able to talk to other like do the balancing between other namespaces?
I guess so. So I haven't tried it, but I will test it, and I try to leave the note in the meetup group. But it's a good question. Let me just note that.
Because we've had issues where we weren't able to keep using the same namespace with new things in it. Maybe we were trying to override the pod, and that was the problem. But
okay.
So we have new namespaces with certain releases. And
okay.
Then switching would be difficult.
You guys are doing Kubernetes in a very hard way, so it's nice to hear. So yeah, it's Istio. I think it's a good load balancer, and I guess it was needed there. So and the setups are easy for both DevOps and I mean the operation people and also for developers. So it's easy to just manage it in the development space. All right, one more.
Is there a roadmap for future direction? Do you have an idea of what kind of features might be coming in the future?
Yeah, I wish. So I think they always on this page. So I remember I was at the day they announced 1.0, and people were so excited talking about that. I'm going to ApacheCon. Maybe I will have some information there, so I will come back to and share with you the information. So we'll see. On that, I will thank you very much, and I think we have a couple minutes of break, so we can refill the cups, and I give back the floor to organizers.
Thanks, Mark. That was very entertaining and very informative talk.
Thank you.
So we'll take a 5-minute break before we do the second talk.
Same talk.